Well, hello, writers. Welcome to episode number 80 of How Do You Write? I'm Rachael Herron, and as usual, I am completely thrilled and delighted that you are choosing to spend some of your very valuable, precious time with me on this podcast, talking to writers. Today's episode, as usual, because I'm very lucky in these matters, is 100% delightful. I'm talking to Jill Baguchinsky, who is just dreamy, and I loved getting to know her, and she is apparently writing books for me, so I'm very excited about that. You're going to love talking to her. I do apologize to you, my listeners, and to Chris, my producer, my new producer, who's helping me with these things, because the room is full of noise today. There's cats meowing and dogs chewing on bones. But, life happens. And so if you hear those things, that's just because my life is going on in the background. I am feeling pretty wired, pretty amped today, pretty good. I think that is because I finished a Patreon essay today, which I'm very happy with. This is about my February month of music. This particular essay, and it is about how I joined my band, which has done wonders for my heart and my soul and my spirit. And yesterday, for example, I had to go to band practice. It was the end of a very long weekend, the end of yet another emotional week. And I had an RWA board meeting in the morning, and I was just dead. I did not want to go. I wanted to cancel. I wanted to go home and crawl into bed and pull the covers up over my head. But I'm committed to this band, and it was band rehearsal time. And I am gone for the next couple of rehearsals anyway. I'm going to be in Spain. So I just went, and within one song of just singing one song with the band, all of my energy came back. All of my drive and enthusiasm landed on me, and it just feels so good to sing, to use my voice in a way that isn't writing, to have this music always in and around me. So I had a wonderful time writing this essay about this particular month of music. So that goes out at the end of February. As always, my Patreon is at patreon.com/Rachael, Rachael. And if you did pledge over there, you get all of the back essays and all of that. So speaking of that, I want to thank a few new patrons. Thanks, you guys. It really, really does mean the world to me that you're listening, that you're supporting, that you're reading the essays, that you like what I'm doing, and you're helping me. Thanks to Jennifer Gagliardi and darling Chloe Adler. Darling Chloe. Amy Stevens, thank you so much, Amy. And Barbara, I'm going to say Bayer. I might be pronouncing that wrong. Thank you guys so much. It means the world. In other news, I am going out of town, and I am taking March off. That's my Patreon Replenish Challenge for March. So I've talked about it here before. I'm terrified of doing it. Hopefully I do it. I'm going to try my damnedest. There are going to be a few things that arise that I'm going to have to handle, but I'm going to try to keep them small and as limited as I possibly can. But I'm going to take this time off, which means that I'm talking quickly because I have 2 more days to get everything done before I have to leave and take the month off. So we're going to jump right into the interview now. And I would also like to say that this is the last intro that you're going to hear for the month of March. For the pre-recorded interviews in March, it's just going to jump right into the interview. So there won't be any of this. It'll be a little bit shorter. Dogs are just like throwing bones against the doors, trying to get me out of the house. So enjoy, Jill. I absolutely know you will. Keep up your writing. Let me know how you're doing. Send me an email. Send me a tweet. I'm going to be active on Instagram, probably the most while I'm gone. So Instagram.com/Rachael Herron. Come follow me there. Hopefully I'll be posting pictures of Barcelona and having a great time. So in the meantime, happy writing to you, my friends, and thank you so much for listening. We'll talk soon. All right. Well, I could not be more pleased today to welcome Jill Baguchinsky to the show. Hi, Jill.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Oh my gosh, thank you for being here. Rekha, RJ Theodore, hooked us up together, and I am already in love with your book that's coming out this year. And let me give you a little bio. Jill Baguchinsky remembers staring down the bones of prehistoric beasts during a trip to the American Museum of Natural History in New York City when she was 6. That visit spurred a lifelong fondness for paleontology that inspired the first draft of MAMMOTH, her upcoming young adult contemporary novel. Jill lives in Florida with a couple of very strange cats. If she's not writing, she's probably goofing off at Disney World, pretending she can knit, or buying more books than she could possibly read. But let's not kid ourselves; she's most likely writing. So, yay, knitter! That's just like a side bonus.
I'm terrible at it, but I love it for anxiety relief. So, I'll just sit there, watch TV, and knit these giant blankets that. It's the most simple kind of knitting in the world, but it's very satisfying.
I'm working on a huge blanket right now out of Noro, the 10-stitch blanket, and it's just going to take me my whole life. And, you live in Florida. I live in California. We don't need that many blankets. But
they're better than scarves for hot weather.
Yeah.
You can always use a blanket, but a scarf is for Florida. No.
That's a good point. I need more blankets. Oh, well, it's so nice to have you. And this show is about writers and their processes. So I would love to ask you about your writing process. What is it? Where? How much? How often? All of that stuff.
Well, I'm sure you've heard of NaNoWriMo.
Oh, I'm on the writer's board. Yes.
Okay, that's what I use. That's my process. That's how I get out my rough drafts. I write 50 to 60,000 words in a month, and it's usually a big old mess because I do it so quickly, but that's what revising is for. So, I don't outline. I don't do anything like that first. I envy people who can do that. My brain does not work like that. I just want to write the whole story out, see where it goes. I don't usually know where it's going, and so it's kind of exciting to me. It's almost like reading the book as I'm writing it.
Oh my gosh, that's really cool. What a good way to say it. What comes to you first, the plot or the characters?
Definitely the characters.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, plot is actually my biggest challenge.
Me too.
Because it's so hard.
I hate plot. I
just love characters. I want to just have the characters playing on the page, and then all of a sudden I give it to my beta readers and they go, okay, but nothing happens for these 4 chapters. Oh, yeah, I forgot to actually have a plot in there. So I'm always being told it's like raise the stakes.
Yes. I turned in an entire book once and my editor told me that there was no plot. And I had to go back and inject a plot. But wouldn't it be nice if we could just let these characters play and have fun and get into scrapes and then get them out of them?
Yeah, and that's what's so great about NaNoWriMo is that it encourages you to just kind of go wild on the page and let them do what they want. And then, okay, you can fix it later. You can add a plot later. And
yeah.
And I find that so much comes up that I would not have thought of otherwise because I'm just racing through it like that.
And when did you first hear of or do NaNoWriMo?
Oh, it's been a number of years. Let's see, I did it for Spooky Girl, my first book, and that was back in 2009, and I had been doing it for several years before that, so probably 2006.
That was my first year. 2006 was my year. And I will say quickly, just for anybody who happens to not know what NaNoWriMo is, it is National Novel Writing Month, NaNoWriMo.org. Look it up. It'll change your life if you haven't done it. Mm-hmm. So Jill, where do you write?
Oh, I write sometimes at home and sometimes at coffee shops. I love little independent divey coffee shops. And where I live right now, I don't know of any, but for several years I lived in Augusta, Georgia. Mm-hmm. And we had a coffee shop there called the Metro, and it was downtown. It was a coffee shop during the day and a dive bar at night. And it was just the coolest place to go write.
What a great idea. Mm-hmm. Why don't people do that more often?
Great. I don't know, because it was just one of my happy places. It's one of the things I miss most about living in Georgia.
Yeah, and I find places like Starbucks very antiseptic, and I don't like writing at Starbucks. I'll do it sometimes when I'm traveling because they're a sure thing, and you can get wireless. You can get Wi-Fi. Yeah, but other than that, there's just no heart.
Yeah, I write at Starbucks sometimes, but if I don't have any other options, that's where I'll end up.
Now, so you get your first draft out. Does that mean that you are a natural person who likes to revise? How do you feel about revision?
I don't mind it at all. I think it's great because it's, I can fix everything that I made a mess of in the first draft. And when I revise, I literally rewrite the book. I have 2 different Word documents open and I just retype everything so that I can just craft it more and have it sound better.
You literally retype it. You don't copy and paste in.
No, very rarely do I copy and paste because there's so many little things that I want to play with while I'm revising.
I have heard
it takes a while, but
I've heard of similar methods, but I've never heard of something that clear. Mm-hmm. It seems like that could work for a lot of people.
Yeah, that's just what I've always done. And I think it makes me more fearless when I'm writing the rough draft because I know I'm going to redo this scene anyway. It doesn't matter if I'm making a mess right now.
No one's ever going to see that. Yeah.
Nope.
Exactly. Oh, awesome. What is your biggest challenge when it comes to writing?
Oh, definitely, like I said, plot. Erasing mistakes. Yeah.
What is your greatest joy?
Definitely writing characters, coming up with characters, writing dialogue, kind of letting them connect with each other. I love little romantic moments because I'm such a romantic. So even though I'm not writing actual romance novels, I just have these little moments where the characters start connecting and have their meet cutes and that sort of thing. And I love it so much.
How much do you know about your characters before you start a book?
I don't usually know too much. I kind of learn about them while I am writing. So I have a basic idea about them, and then, it's almost like being introduced to them while I'm writing those early scenes.
I often feel like that, and I often feel like I don't know, especially my main character. I can get to know my other characters easier, but my main character I don't usually know until the end of the book, and then I go back and revise the first half to make it match what she turned into right around the halfway mark. Awesome.
I love it when you don't really know exactly where something's going like that, and then it becomes clear. And I just love that. I
either love it or I hate it because sometimes I absolutely know where they should go and they do not go there, and that never pleases me. And it's always they always go to the right place, but yeah,
but they don't take the path you wanted.
No, damn them! I hate that about them. That and plot. Oh, this is not off topic, but do you listen to any other writing podcasts?
I'm not at the moment. No, I've just started listening. My agent has a young adult podcast, so I've been listening to that one, and that's been taking up most of my podcast time.
There is one called the Self-Publishing Podcast with this group of guys named Johnny, Sean, and Dave, and I'm sure a lot of people listening might be familiar with them. And they have a new thing that I'm not sure how I feel about it, but I think I might like it as an idea, although I'd never do it. They are offering, as a business, you buy from them a cover, a title, a blurb, and a plot synopsis.
Oh, wow.
And then you
write based on that?
You write based on that. And they're all like unique. And, the way they talk about it is, so you don't have to figure all those things out after you know them going in. And I think it's like somebody told me this is all hearsay, but somebody told me it's like $5,000, which, but there's something so attractive to me about somebody just giving me the plot.
I know. That part I really like. Yeah.
I could just show up.
Tell me what to write.
Yes. And then I could make the characters myself. And, so if anybody wants to give me one of those for $50, I will pay you $50. Actually, I'm not. I probably won't. Can you share?
It's definitely an interesting business idea,
isn't
though.
It? And I'm curious to know how it flies. I bet it will fly. I bet it will.
I bet so.
Can you share a quick craft tip of any sort with us?
I would say when you have written the rough draft or the first revision and you're ready to show it to some of your beta readers, first take some time and read it out loud to yourself. I love to do that. It sounds tedious, but I find so many little awkward moments that I don't catch if I'm just reading it in my head. So especially for people who write fiction, at least go and read the dialogue out loud because it sounds completely different than when it's in your head and you catch a lot of strange little things that you didn't otherwise notice.
How do you do it? Are you looking at your computer when you read it out loud or are you reading off a Kindle or just...
No, I usually just read it right on the computer, and it definitely is tedious, but I catch so many little things where, I repeated that word 3 times in this paragraph and I didn't even notice that before, or this just doesn't sound right. Let me just tinker with it a little bit. And I don't know. I get it definitely tedious, but it works for me. So
that's one of those things on the top of my list to someday really do. I
recommend it.
I did recently record an audiobook of my nonfiction that came out. And,
wow.
And in the course of recording the audiobook, that happened. I just kept finding these things, but they were on the fly. And then I would go back and fix the book when I was, back. Yeah, that was super
but
helpful.
So you see how it works, though.
It was great. Yeah. And it was embarrassing, to be honest, like to see how, and this had been edited and revised and edited, and all those things were still in there.
I still find it, yeah. Oh, I guarantee I could go back to my book that was published a couple years ago and find things like that if I did it right now.
So don't.
No. I try not to.
So when you have self-doubt or dark days, how do you deal with that?
I try to just accept that that's part of the writing and publishing process. There are going to be crappy days, especially for, if you want to get into publishing, or whether it's traditional or self-publishing, anything like that. If you're putting your work out there, you're going to have some not so great days. And I think it's important to just accept that. There's going to be somebody who reads 3 pages of the book that you spent 2 years on, and they're going to go over to Goodreads, and they're going to say, this is the worst thing I ever read. 1 star. I wish I could give it none. And you're going to see that, and you're going to be like, why am I doing this? Just accept that that's part of the game. And, you love writing enough to get past that sort of thing. But also have a couple of friends that in private you can vent to, and let them get really mad for you, because that's much less exhausting than getting mad yourself.
I think that's an incredibly important pro tip, to have those friends that you can say. I have 2 girlfriends that we have this running competition as to who has the worst 1-star reviews. Like I don't even read reviews anymore. I know that sounds like a line, but I really don't. But every once in a while, just for fun, I will go to Amazon or Goodreads and click on just the 1 star so they come up, and it is so much fun. And we'll compete to see who has the most ludicrous.
Oh, there are some out there. My agent tells us don't even bother reading reviews. Don't do it. But I still read some of mine. And there is one 1-star review floating around out there for Spooky Girl that someday I'm going to embroider it on a pillow, because it's really short and I just love it that much. It's just that.
Do you remember what it says?
I don't off the top of my head. It's just a couple of words, and that person was really angry. And I'm like, that's kind of wonderful. I'm going to embroider that on a pillow someday.
I think the embroidery idea is so genius, and I think I might do it for those 2 girlfriends. Do
it. There you go. You're set for holiday presents now. You know exactly.
Okay, that is 100% delightful. I love that. Thank you for making my day. Okay, what is the best book that you've read recently, and why did you love it?
Oh, I just finished this one yesterday. Love, Hate, and Other Filters. It's a young adult contemporary by Samira Ahmed. And full disclosure, I know Samira. She is one of my agent's other clients, and we're like almost like a family. She's my agent sibling.
Who is your agent?
What we call each other. Eric Smith of PS Literary.
I don't know him. Okay.
And he's awesome. But this book it's a hashtag Own Voices book, which is a big thing in young adult contemporary these days. It's very, it's this movement for diversity. And the book's about an Indian American Muslim teenager. And at first she's caught between what her parents want for her versus what she wants for herself and her own hopes and dreams. And she has a little bit of a love triangle going on. And it's just this very cute, fluffy, young adult contemporary romance. And then there is a terrorist attack on the United States in the course of the book. Yeah. And this changes the entire book. And it's very jarring in a very, very relatable way. Considering some of the news that we see these days, it's
Absolutely.
Just very sobering and such an important story. And it goes on to how this all affects her and her family, even though, of course, they have nothing to do with any of this that's going on. But there's very real consequences to it. And it also... When I was reading it, it made me question some of the assumptions that I made about the attack while I was reading. And it was really sobering. And really, I think it will make a lot of people kind of think twice about some of the ideas that they have.
That sounds awesome. Did you read The Hate U Give?
It's on my to-be-read list. I have not read it yet, but it's like right on the top of the list, and I'm so looking forward to it because
so enjoyable. It is, and it's reminding me, and even the cover is real similar, I think, in terms of tone. But the Hate You Give, I don't know. I had some kind of, sometimes the really big books, I have a little bit of reluctance, like, well, everybody loves it. Do I have to read it? And I picked it up, and I remember I was literally on page 2 when I said to myself, she has me completely. Her language, I want to go anywhere with this author, with this character, like a page 2. So yeah, that's another YA #own voices book. And it's just wonderful. So, so I think pairing those together might be a
definitely. Yeah. They're a very good comparison there.
So what would you like to tell us about right now? Actually, you know what? I know what I want to tell listeners about, because I pulled up the Amazon page for Mammoth, which comes out was it October of this year? November. Okay.
Yes.
And I just, for listeners, I just want to read the first paragraph of the blurb. The summer before her junior year, paleontology geek Natalie Page lands a coveted internship at an Ice Age dig site near Austin, Texas. Natalie, who's also a plus-size fashion blogger, depends on the retro style and persona she developed to shield herself from her former bullies, but vintage dresses and designer heels aren't compatible with digging for fossils. It's like you're writing a book for me. I cannot wait to read this book. Oh my gosh. When I was a teenager, we lived overseas, and it was on this small island, and there was a big archaeological dig that was happening, and we were homeschooled, and my mom somehow got them to agree to let us work on the site. So, we were seriously grunts. It's like 14 years old, and they're just making us shake the filters or whatever, the screens. But just for that week of doing it, I have been obsessed with this idea ever since. And the things that we were finding, they looked like nothing to me. They look, that's a rock and that's a rock. But somebody would come up and say, that's not a rock, that's a bone, or that's a shard of pottery. And it's fascinating. So this love of paleontology then comes naturally to you.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I'm not a paleontologist myself, but I did a lot of research. I worked at the Waco Mammoth National Monument for about a week. I learned how to dig fossils and prospect, and I went to bone labs, and I talked to paleontologists, all while I was writing Mammoth, because I really wanted all the scientific details to be as accurate as possible. And also, actually, one of the ways to tell the bone from the rock, I learned, is if you lick the bone, your tongue will stick.
No way!
Yes. So I have actually licked a little piece of mammoth fossil to see, and yes, your tongue does stick, because it's,
Okay, that is amazing, and I love it.
So I learned all kinds of things like that while I was researching mammoth.
And marrying that to a plus-size fashion blogger, which is like my other obsession on Instagram anyway, when like I'm falling asleep, that's what I like to look at. So thank you for writing this book. But I diverted from the question, where should we look for you? What should we be looking for? Where can we find you?
Oh, well, the book comes out this November, so it is up on Amazon now. They're not finished with the listing yet. The ebook isn't available yet. My publisher's still working on that. But in the meantime, I am on Twitter at Jill Baguchinsky, and I'm posting all the updates about Mammoth there. We just did the official cover reveal today, and that was super exciting. My Twitter's been blowing up all day.
And it's a fantastic cover. Like you won a cover lottery for that one.
I just love it. The fossils in the shape of a heart. That's so perfect for the book. It's so soft. I love it.
And tell me a little bit about Spooky Girl, because I didn't investigate that yet.
Spooky Girl, it was a book that I wrote for NaNoWriMo in 2009, and then in 2011, it won the Amazon Breakthrough Novel Award for Young Adult Fiction, a contest that Amazon used to have.
Yes, I remember that. Congratulations.
Thank you. So they flew me out to Seattle for that, and the grand prize was a publishing contract with a Penguin imprint, so Dutton Children's Books published Spooky Girl. It came out in 2012.
You go.
And it's about a young paranormal investigator trying to figure out what happened to her mother, who was also a paranormal investigator and who died during an investigation. So it's kind of a mystery, and it's paranormal, and it's completely different from Mammoth. But yeah, that's my firstborn.
I'm going to go one click it because I just feel like you're writing for me anything that I want to read. So like you said in the email that we were, how my show increases to the TBR pile. You should see my TBR pile, but it's full of amazing things. So I can't wait to read this too.
Oh, thank you.
So, well, thank you so much for being on the show, Jill. It's a delight to talk to you, as I pretty much knew it would be.
Well, thank you so much, Rachel. I appreciate you having me. And this has been so much fun.
Absolutely. Let's stay in touch.
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
Bye.
Thank
Thanks so
you.
much.
Bye.